So let me show you how to set up global UPC versus local UPC. So let's go over to System Preferences, and let's go to Local Preferences, Merchandise, General. There you go. So by default, you are using global UPC. So out of the box, Retail Pro is using global UPC only. And typically, those who use global UPC only have items that exist across one or more subsidiaries, and the UPCs are typically not reused. Again, items exist across one or more subsidiaries, and the UPCs are not being reused. Now, with global UPC enabled, the user would key in the global UPC, and Retail Pro will automatically copy that information over to the local UPC field, which is then used for lookup purposes. But that local UPC is not editable. Now keep in mind, if you have a Retail Pro system that is using both V8 and V9 installations, you must be using global UPC only. That's because version 8 does not support local UPC versus global UPC. They essentially only have one UPC field, which is the global UPC. Now, if you wanted to use local UPC only, you would deselect this setting and you would select this setting. So with this setting turned on, you are effectively only using local UPC. And usually if you're using local UPC, you're probably going to want to allow duplicate local UPCs. So this will allow for the reuse of UPCs. So you can have more than one item with the same exact UPC, which, as you know, manufacturers reuse UPCs all the time. So as an item is discontinued, they may take that item's UPC and give it to a different product. And the only way Retail Pro would be able to support that is if you're using local UPC and allowing for duplicate local UPCs. Now, if you also want Retail Pro to auto-generate a local UPC for you, you would turn this on. And this setting is very much like this setting here for global UPCs. All right. Now keep this in mind as well. If you're using local UPC only, the global UPC is not editable. And regardless of what this setting says, Retail Pro will not auto-generate a global UPC. So you can imagine that this is grayed out because effectively this is not used. Even though it's checked, Retail Pro will not generate a global UPC. Again, if you're using local UPC only. Now, who would use local UPC only? Typically, these are retailers who have items that exist at a single subsidiary only, and the UPCs are either reused or never reused. And again, this setting would be turned on accordingly. All right? But again, typically, those who use local UPC only really only have items that exist within a given subsidiary. And lastly, you might have retailers who would need to use both global UPC and local UPC. And typically these retailers have items that exist across multiple subsidiaries, and some of those UPCs are potentially reused. So you want to make sure that you have both options. The global UPC would allow the retailer to have the same item SID for each unique item across each of the subsidiaries using UPC-based SID generation. And then if there are items that are reusing UPCs, they could store that information in the local UPC field. So that's it. That is using global UPC and local UPC.